Every once in a while, someone thinks they found it, the thing that means they don't have to worry anymore. It feels like certainty, like everything is already handled before you even begin.
In this story, it's the perfect health insurance policy. It looks fabulous. It will cover everything. And that thick insurance book your employer gave you, that's your golden ticket.
We had a client, we'll call her Carly. She had what she thought was a fabulous health insurance plan through her employer. She was young and healthy and never had really used it before, but now she was pregnant and would definitely need it.
Her insurance benefits book was beautiful, a glossy golden cover filled with words like inclusive and full coverage. It gave the impression that once you were in, you didn't have to question anything. She was so lucky she found it, thrown in the bottom of her junk drawer in the bedroom.
Her first thought was simple and completely reasonable. This will cover everything. We'll have no problems.
So Carly does what a lot of people do. She sets up a meeting with HR to go over her benefits, just to make sure she understands everything before things get further along.
She shows up right on time for her appointment. The HR office is usually the quietest place in the building, the kind of place no one really goes unless they have to. But today, there's a line outside the door. Not one or two people, a crowd.
She walks in, and it's not what she expected. The space is bright, almost too polished, and sitting right in the middle of the waiting area is a large glass bowl filled with perfectly wrapped chocolates.
Yum. She sits down, and that's when she starts noticing the people around her. Mike, one of her coworkers, is there. He's a TV obsessive, always talking about shows. And today, he's holding his neck like he slept wrong, complaining about how he watched something for hours in a bad position.
Across from him is Augustus, already mid-conversation with anyone who will listen, wanting to know whether his GLP-1 medications will be covered, like that's the only question that matters.
And then there's Violet from Carly's department, quietly sitting there eating a container of blueberries like it's the most normal thing in the world.
And just as Carly is settling in, the door swings open again, and a voice cuts through the room. A girl announces loudly that her name is Veruca, and she wants her appointment now. Not later, now.
Everyone turns just for a second, and then the door opens again. And that's when Willa, the head of HR, appears.
She doesn't rush. She doesn't raise her voice. She just stands there, composed, almost too composed, like she already knows how this is going to go.
She looks directly at Carly, gives a small, knowing smile, and says, "Carly." Willa turns and gestures for Carly to follow, like this is just the next step in something that's already been decided.
She brings her inside, closes the door behind them, and with the same calm tone says, "Let me walk you through your plan so you know what to expect."
They start with prenatal care. Willa says, "Your visits are covered, your standard testing is covered," and Carly relaxes a little. That's what she needed to hear.
Then they move to delivery. Hospital, labor, all covered, Willa says. And again, it sounds exactly right.
But then Willa adds, as long as everything is in network. And Carly nods because her doctor is in network, so she assumes she's fine.
Willa keeps going. Some tests may need prior authorization, she says, and you'll have a deductible and an out-of-pocket maximum.
And Carly hears all of it, but she doesn't really stop on any of it because every step still sounds like the same answer. Covered.
At the end, Willa says, and don't forget, you'll need to add the baby to your plan right away.
And Carly leaves that meeting feeling exactly how she walked in, like everything is handled, because nothing she was told was wrong.
It just wasn't understood the way it needed to be.
So let's go back through what she was told, because every one of those things matters. The first piece is in network versus out of network, which is where most expensive mistakes happen.
Carly had checked her OB and confirmed they were in network, which is what most people do. What she hadn't checked was the hospital, the anesthesiologist, or the neonatologist, all of whom bill separately.
Those are different providers with different contracts, and each one can generate its own bill. Your doctor being in network does not make the entire delivery in network.
There is some program under a law called the No Surprises Act in certain situations, especially when you don't choose the provider. But that doesn't stop the bill from arriving. It just gives you a way to challenge it.
The next issue is the word covered, which causes the most misunderstanding. Covered does not mean free, and that distinction matters more during pregnancy than almost any other time.
Carly had a deductible of $2,000, which meant she paid the first $2,000 of care herself. Between appointments, labs, and imaging, she reached that number pretty quickly.
Then there's the out-of-pocket maximum, which is the total amount you'll pay in a year before insurance covers everything at 100%. That's the number people should focus on, but often don't.
And then we showed her the calendar issue, which almost no one anticipates. If your pregnancy and delivery fall in different calendar years, you can end up hitting 2 deductibles and 2 out-of-pocket maximums.
It can double your costs. Most people don't think about this when planning their pregnancies.
Then we looked at prior authorization, which is where things become less intuitive. Some tests and procedures require approval in advance, and without that approval, they may not be covered.
Carly had a test ordered early in her pregnancy that was routine from her doctor's perspective. But because prior authorization wasn't obtained, she received a bill for over $1,000.
But remember, denials aren't final. We told her to appeal, and when she later did it, the bill was reduced.
And finally, we talked about the baby, because that's the piece most people don't think about until it's happening. The baby is a separate person with separate coverage from the moment they are born.
You typically have about 30 days to add your child to your insurance. And if you miss the window, you can create a gap in coverage. Meanwhile, those first hospital bills are already being issued under the baby's name.
So here's what you actually need to do right away. Call your insurance company and confirm every provider who is involved, not just your doctor, but the hospital and anyone who may be a part of your care.
Learn your deductible and out-of-pocket maximums, and treat those numbers as part of your planning.
Before any test or procedure, ask whether prior authorization is required and confirm that it has been obtained. That one step can prevent some of the biggest unexpected bills.
And add your baby to your insurance as soon as possible, ideally immediately after birth. And when a bill arrives that you don't understand, you don't pay it first. Verify it.
Your insurance policy may be a real golden ticket, but if you don't understand the coverages, deadlines, and policies, you may go home empty and with some big bills. A few months later, Carly received one more bill from a provider she didn't recognize, and she almost paid it just to be done with it. She was tired. The baby was a few months old, and it felt easier just to move on.
But she stopped and asked questions instead. Once she did, she learned she didn't owe it at all because she had already reached her out-of-pocket maximum.
The system didn't connect those pieces for her, so she had to connect them herself. And that's the difference between feeling covered and actually understanding what that means. This is exactly why we walk through this here, because having good insurance and understanding how it actually works are two very different things.
And if you want to understand it before you're in the middle of it, we break it all down in I Want to Have a Baby. What do I do now? Our newest book.
So you're not figuring out after the bills start showing up.
Next time, Rapunzel and the leave she thought she had.
Because the leave you think you have may not be the leave you really have. This is the Bridelawyer Podcast,
where fairy tales meet the fine print.